Today's video is brought to you by Card Kingdom, and right now you can get this Sweet Scoop Soldier sticker when you order over at cardkingdom.com. Just mention in your order notes that you want a Scoop Soldier sticker when you go to checkout. Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck. And today, we're looking at the new old hotness in Standard. This is a deck, Temur Temur Adventures, that was kind of popular right after Throne of Eldraine released, or a little bit after Throne of Eldraine released, but kind of fell out the map. But all of a sudden, it is back with a vengeance, taking home a recent tournament victory in the hands of Little Beep, the DreamHack tournament. And not only did Little Beep win the tournament, they published some of Little Beep's data from Magic Arena, and good lord, was winning close to 80% across a sample of like 100 matches, which is just absolutely absurd win rate. So maybe the best deck in Standard at the moment. So we're going to talk Temur Clover today, this insane card advantage value deck. Before we jump into it, a super quick reminder: if you enjoy this deck and you want to see it made into videos, take a minute, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever deck is most popular gets a shot at being made into videos next week. So Temur Clover, it's pretty simple. It is based around two key engine pieces. Engine piece number one, Lucky Clover, which for 2 mana just doubles up any of our adventure instant or sorcery. So whatever adventure instant or sorcery we cast, we get to do it twice. And if we get 2 Clovers, we get to do it 3 times. And eventually, because this deck draws so many cards, we're going to have like 3 or 4 Clovers on the battlefield. And then things are just ridiculous, where like a single Bone Crusher Giants, something like 10 damage to our opponent's face, or just something absolutely absurd. So Lucky Clover, payoff piece number 1. Payoff piece number 2 also works with our adventure plan, Edgewell Innkeeper. So Lucky Clover doubles up our adventures in spell form, and then once we get our creatures off adventure, Edgewell Innkeeper is going to draw us a card, keep us churning through our deck to find more adventures, and spiral that value out of control. So our deck really wants these cards in our opening hand. These are the cards we need on the battlefield. With these cards active and on the battlefield, our deck is insane. If we don't have these cards, it might be worth mulliganing to try to find at least one of them, because our deck is pretty tame if we don't have access to at least one of our big engine pieces. So what adventures are we playing to go along with Innkeeper and Lucky Clover? Well, Adventure 1, Beanstalk Giant, Insane Ram Spell. 3 mana, search for a basic land, comes into play untapped. This means with 1 Lucky Clover, Beanstalk Giant's kind of 1 mana. We cast it, we get 2 lands, it costs us 3 mana. With 2 Lucky Clovers, it becomes free. We cast it for 3 mana, we get 3 untapped lands, we're thinning our deck, we're increasing our resources, and if we ever get more than 2 Lucky Clovers, it's actually like a ritual that's generating mana by putting those untapped lands onto the battlefield. We also have some removal-y adventures. In Bone Crusher Giant Brazen Borrower just bounces things, and if we get a bunch of Lucky Clovers going, kind of turns into a pseudo-cyclonic rift where we're bouncing like 2 or 3 or 4 of our opponent's stuff, which really slows down our opponent's development. And then Bone Crusher Giant, early game removal, can take down bigger creatures by doubling up with Lucky Clover, and then in the late game, one of the easiest ways for us to win is just have all of our Lucky Clovers, Bone Crusher, 5 total copies for 10 damage, maybe another one, 5 more copies, that's 20 damage to our opponent's face. Finally, we got Lovestruck Beast, which is just a big beating adventure. Makes a 1/1, which could be 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 1/1s with Lucky Clover, and then gives us a big body. And then to close out the game, our finishing adventure is Fae of Wishes. So Fae of Wishes doesn't do much on its own, just a 1/4 flyer. The big deal is it gets to tutor a non-creature from our sideboard for 4 mana with the granted side, and with Lucky Clovers, that means 2 or 3 or 4 cards from our sideboard, and this is one of the other ways where we win the game. The Bone Crusher plan is fine, but most often, over the course of the game with this deck, we are literally going to be able to tutor essentially our entire sideboard into our hand, which gives us access to just a ridiculous amount of cards. So to understand where we're going with Fae of Wishes, we got to jump to our sideboard real quick. So what do we have in our sideboard? Well, for finishing the game, we have 2 cards. Chandra Awaken Inferno comes down, emblems our opponent, can also wrath away the board or be a removal spell. So that's a good way to finish the game. Another sweet way to finish the game is our 1 copy of Fling. So what we do with Fling is we get to the late game, we get all of our Clovers, we cast a bunch of our Beanstalk Giants to get a bunch of lands on the battlefield. Eventually, the power and toughness of our Beanstalk Giant, which is equal to the number of lands we control, is going to be higher than our opponent's life total. Then we just granted out our Fling the Beanstalk Giant in our opponent's face for like 18 damage or 20 damage, whatever we need, and kill our opponent on the spot with the Beanstalk Fling plan. Otherwise, we can escape to the wilds and once in the future for more grindy card advantage. Once in the future, normally our mana support's getting 2 cards back from our hand, which is very powerful. Can get back Bone Crusher Giants, get back whatever we need, honestly. Then we have a bunch of removal. Storm's Wrath is a sweeper. Domri's Ambush for targeted removal. Aether Gust for mono red and Nissa decks. Mystic Reappeal, Return to Nature, give us some answers to things like Fires of Invention, Wishclaw Talisman. Disdainful Stroke Negate for counter spells in the controlling matchups. Shadow Spear, if we gotta gain a bunch of life, we can get this, stick it on a Beanstalk Giant or a Lovestruck Beast, gain a nice chunk of life against decks like Mono Red. Sorcerer Spyglass can shut down any Planeswalkers. So that is our Wish sideboard plan. As far as the rest of our main deck, it's just more card draw. And that's the thing I love most about this deck, the Temur Temur Adventure deck, is all we really do is draw cards. Like, sure, we can kind of attack. Sure, we can tutor all these cards out of our sideboard. But the main way we win the game is just outdrawing our opponent. We just draw ridiculous amounts of cards and trust that by drawing ridiculous amounts of cards, sooner or later those cards are going to win us the game. So Escape for the Wilds, 5 mana, kind of draws us 5 cards and lets us make an extra land drop. The only downside is we got to play those cards in our next turn cycle. So either the turn we cast it or the next turn. Great Henge makes our creatures bigger, draws us even more cards as creatures come into play. Incubation Incongruity could be a removal spell, also can snag Edgewall Innkeeper or any of our creatures with the incubation side. Mana base wise, a bunch of Shock Lands, a bunch of Scry Lands, a bunch of basic lands, many basic lands. You will note there's actually a total of 12 basics. That is because of the Beanstalk Giant plan, where we're tutoring so many basics out of our deck. We really don't want to run out, so don't cut basics from the deck. And that is the ridiculousness of the potentially new top deck in Standard, Temur Clover. And that's our instant deck for today. So thank you so much for watching. If you like drawing cards, give it a shot. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.